I always thought about harming myself.
I'm shy. I struggled with making friends.
I never thought I could do anything. I have extremely low self esteem.
Lately, I've been eating my pain away. Just throw it back up. I've been struggling to lose weight. Somebody said I don't fit in just because I wear my hair the way I like it.
1 out of 5 American girls suffer from mental health problems. Don't be that girl. Talk to someone.
Those thoughts I had are long gone, for I have a future I need to get to.
In order to get better, I had to do better. I learned how to make friends.
I believe in myself. That's when everyone else did, I set an example.
Instead of me eating everything, I started watching my calories. The weight is falling off.
I went to change my hair, but I decided it was for me. It's for me.
A PSA from the Curvy Girl Project.
Good morning and welcome to Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and I'm hoping that this day is going to be seen by people that had a very, very happy holiday yesterday. And those of you that are celebrating Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa. So definitely hope that everybody enjoyed themselves, didn't get too full on mom or grandmom's cooking. And I was talking to a friend of ours, Keith Bennett. I know he was telling me in terms of say about the, I think he did a 5-layer red velvet cake that I think he posted on Facebook that looked like all our other friends. Former state reps Sherry No-Go and some others looked at that cake and they were like, hey, if you're having a problem trying to get it over to some of your relatives' houses, they'll take it off your hands and they'll come by there and they'll get it beforehand. But, I just hope that everybody had a good time. Looked like yesterday was a real good day for sports enthusiasts, as well as my guest today, Mr. Ken Scott. And we're going to talk a little bit about sports today. But there's a lot of things that happened yesterday, a lot of things that happened over the weekend, a lot of things that are coming up this coming weekend when it comes to sports. So that's some of the things that we'll talk about today. But before we get started, you are watching us live. This, again, is Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. And our calling numbers are area code 313-868-0342, 313-868-0351, 313-868-4336. Our website, www.tv33whpr.com. And again, you're watching us from the awesome cities of Detroit, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Mike Duggan, as well as the phenomenal city of Highland Park, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Gunda McDonald. Before we get started, just want to make certain that everybody has an opportunity to do some things together. Get a chance to get out there and go talk to your family, friends. I just want to do a couple of shout outs to a couple of people. Just to make certain, anyone that's going through anything when it comes down to the sick and shut in. But the main thing, rather than kind of give the specific shout outs, let me just say this. Touch people. This is a holiday that you want to make certain that you touch people that you haven't touched in a long time. Get reacquainted with people. Reach out to people because, you never know what somebody's going through. So this is a time that a lot of people lose loved ones and some to their own hands because of the fact that they're alone or they feel lonely. So reach out to someone. You don't know how far that might go. A phone call, a visit, a text, something. But just reach out to people and let them know that you care about them, you're concerned about them, and that you love them. So again, You don't want to go into the year 2024 with any regret about anything that you could have done or you procrastinated about doing. Do it. Don't wait. Don't take time out to try and do something else. So do it. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about sports. We got some interesting sports teams that are playing now. A lot of people know that we've got the Detroit Lions, them Lions, those awesome Lions. They used to be little meow cats, and there was a lot of times people used to talk about how they were just whimpering trying to get through the regular season. Now here we've got the Lions, and they're roaring with a humongous roar, and they're letting the fans know we are for real. So now the question is, are the Lions contenders for the throne or the title, or are they pretenders for the title or the throne? I've got a good guest on the show with us. He puts a lot of things out on Facebook. He talks a little bit about, he's got his favorite teams. He'll tell you he loves his Kansas City Chiefs. Absolutely. Sorry that they had a loss yesterday, but things happen. He's got his other favorite team, the Golden State Warriors. Sorry, they lost yesterday too. But,
yeah, to bring that up, huh?
But the thing is just today. Teams, win some, they lose some. So yesterday was a good day for teams that are rooting for the Lions because, as Kendall mentioned, that San Francisco lost to the Baltimore Ravens. So what that meant was that the Lions are moving up in the standings, so that it looks pretty good that the Lions, we know they made the playoffs, but the other thing, too, is that where they're going to land in the playoff scheme of things is what we're going to talk about today. But without further ado, Ken Scott, welcome to Expose Under the Sun.
Well, good morning, Darwin. It's a pleasure being here, and I echo your sentiments about the people that are alone, shut in, whatever the case may be, and just may be feeling a little down over the holiday season. So I want to make sure that they're uplifted and make sure that we attend to those individuals, specifically seniors. In a lot of cases, their family is dwindling as far as numbers. So please check in with them and be aware of their circumstances. If they need anything, please meet that need.
Okay. Let's talk Lions.
Okay.
Contenders, pretenders. What do you think?
They are contenders. I don't think they've ever been positioned at a better point than they are presently. Considering the last 2 years, I think this is the best situation for them. They have claimed their position at this point in time, and I think they deserve it because of the play that they've exhibited. But there were 2 games during the course of this season that they should have won as well. And for whatever reason, they were just outplayed. So, but at the same time, Dan Campbell is probably the best thing. Dan Campbell and what's the GM's name? I can't think of his name right now. But at the same time, they're the best thing that's happened with the Lions, obviously, for the last 30 years. So I'm pleased with the output, and I expect more things of them. I expect them to do really good against Dallas as well as Minnesota again at home. Minnesota at home should be a winner regardless. Dallas has flip-flopped over the last few weeks, and you never know who you're going to get. So hopefully we get the ones that don't play that well or are not as cohesive as far as playing.
Well, they're probably saying the same thing about us.
Oh, of course. But at the same time, ever since the Chicago game, we have rallied around each other, played well against the other teams, and I am extremely pleased at what the product that the Fords have come up with this year.
Well, I think the thing is that we have pieced together a winning team
Absolutely.
compared to years past. We've shored up any of the holes that may have been when it came down to defense, any of the holes when it came down to offense, when it came down to special teams. I mean, and even in the coaching alignment, we've shored up some of those holes that we had
Absolutely.
as well. So I think the thing is that there are people now that wondered about the experiment when they went and decided they were going to trade Stafford for Goff.
Absolutely.
And to see whether or not if they could put a winning team around all those years around Stafford when Stafford was here.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to go and put all those pieces together.
Absolutely.
Now here it looks in terms of, say, like Campbell is making certain that he's putting the people out there on the field, because that's his general, position, is to put the right people out there on the field. He gets the coaches to make suggestions or recommendations to him, but it still falls on him, and he always admits that.
Absolutely.
If the Lions lose because of a special teams misstep, or because of a defensive misstep, or even an offensive misstep, he still takes the responsibility because it's his team to be the general coach of that team.
Absolutely. And the name escaped me earlier, but his name is Brad Holmes. He's the general manager for the Lions. Together they have assembled one of the best teams that we've ever had in sports, actually in sports. But at the same time, when you're assembling these players, you need someone that's looking at talent, experience, individuals that have exhibited leadership in the locker room and what have you, and on the field. And I think they have a good mix going on at present. I don't think we could belabor anything that they've done over the last year, and I expect it to get even better with the free agency market as well as other draft picks that we've assembled for 2024.
Well, glad that you alluded to that. So when you're talking about free agency and you're talking about the draft picks, what do you think that they need to look for in free agency as well as in the draft picks?
Well, they definitely need to shore up both lines. I mean, that's a priority on any given team, the offensive and defensive lines. But at the same time, they need to shore up on the skilled players. The wide receivers are good. At the same time, I still believe that they need some veteran pieces placed in there in order to really go to their full potential. It's going to be a number of free agents on the market, and I don't have a list presently with me, but at the same time, I believe that the Lions can shore up their skilled players, definitely on offense, the wide receiver. I wouldn't mind.
They need to get another wide receiver.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with Donovan People-Jones coming in and him getting more experience, getting more time on the field, I think that's going to shore up him as well, because if you look at his history at University of Michigan, he was just a knockout, drag-out player. And I think he's going to rise to the occasion next year.
So let me ask this question then too, Ken. So when you look in terms of, say, at the offense, what player stands out to you the most in the offense?
Well, obviously Jameer as well as Laporta.
Laporta, the tight end.
Tight end from
Gibbs,
Iowa, and Gibbs,
running
Jameer
back.
Gibbs from Alabama, I believe it is.
Okay.
They were players that were taken in the draft, but they were extremely skilled at their position because their coach in college was extremely well versed and well coached. I mean, as far as knowing about their respective positions and what have you, and made them better, made them a lot better. I mean, they didn't come from no small school. They came from competing schools. The Big Ten and the SEC is nothing to play with. If you come from those schools and had coaches like Nick Saban and I think his name is Franz or something like that from Iowa, those are coaches that have been around for a while. They know the system in and out. They have coaches underneath them that really are skilled in their position. So that only makes the player that's learning from them even more better than we expected in our draft.
Well, let me ask this other question. Now, this is what happens usually with championship teams.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, what happens is that they have a good season.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, there's the possibility of losing good players that may go off and get a more lucrative contract with another team.
Absolutely.
There's also the risk of other teams that aren't that good coming after some of the assistant coaches
Oh, absolutely.
for the
Absolutely.
Lions. And that's what
a
happens
great
to
possibility.
teams. So is there anybody that you see in your purview that, and the same thing when it comes to the general manager, that could be lured away by another team to come and work the magic that he did with the Lions to work there with another franchise, as well. Because, we've got some storied franchises that aren't doing that well,
True.
that have a lot more money to give to an assistant coach or even a general manager of a team. That happens all the time.
So let's get to the elephant in the room. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator, turned the Lions season around over the last few years, was eligible to be swooped up last year, decided to stay with the Lions. Once this
Why do you
season,
think he stayed?
Why do you think he stayed? First of all, he had talent that he wanted to work with. But at the same time, he probably wanted to shore up his own deficiencies, if he had any, as well as just get more acclimated to running things. And Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have given him the opportunity to do so. So, this is a breeding ground for it at this point in time. Plus, I want to allude to the fact that you talked about other players that may be going or coming and what have you. The Lions have assembled a team that is a very young team, that they're, in most cases, they're in their beginning years. There are some veterans on the offensive line and defensive line that may go elsewhere, but at the same time, they've assembled a culture for winning. They have a good mix of those individuals that were brought on because of the draft. They brought in some players because of the free agency. They brought in, they kept some of the players that really were the nucleus of the team. So if they kept the nucleus, the draft picks, and the free agents and what have you, then I believe they will get even better because more players will be assembled and positioned to come here if they were going through free agency or even possibly trades. We lost the gentleman, I forgot the running back from last year, but we lost Sweat, who is playing in Philadelphia now and doing extremely well.
That's what we seem to do. We tend to go and groom players to go to another team and win Super Bowls.
But see, this is the thing with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. They looked at the talent that they had, they assessed it, and they said, is that person a good fit for the system that we're
Trying to build.
Yeah, putting together. And obviously those players weren't there. They have excelled in other areas and other teams and what have you. But at the same time, look at the Lions. Look at the Lions. You have to develop a culture. If that culture is in place and those players are willing and receptive to the culture that you're trying to put together, then you're going to have a good mix. And when you look at the locker rooms after their wins over the last few weeks, there is a culture there that permeates every inch of that locker room.
But see, something you say in terms of looking at the locker room, you look at the locker room not just based on when they win, but you also look at the locker room when they lose.
Absolutely, because
And
there's
that's
a
where the difference comes in there.
And you got to realize that along with this team that he's assembled, he's also stated that you must be accountable. You're not only accountable for your own play, but you're accountable for your teammates' play and your team's play, or your offensive line or your defensive line. Regardless of the situation, you want to be accountable. And if you're accountable and what have you, that breeds leadership, that breeds execution, what have you. And a good example is where they are presently.
Well, the one thing that I look at, Ken, is that teams that have been consistent winners,
Okay.
that have won multiple Super Bowls, back-to-back Super Bowls. When you look at the storied programs like the Dallas Cowboys, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the San Francisco 49ers, you
New
know,
England Patriots.
looking at the Patriots, all those teams that
Discipline.
really have, but not only do they have the discipline, they also have completeness, because you have to have this. To me, there's three components. You got to have a good offense, you got to have a good defense, you got to have good special teams.
Absolutely.
Because the bottom line, what happens is that when you look at these teams, that if the offense is not clicking on all cylinders, the defense steps up and may make an
Absolutely.
interception, may cause a fumble, or do something that can win a game for them.
Yeah, on
The
any
special
given
teams
day,
can
one
do
can
the same thing,
on any given day, one can make you lose the game
or they can make you win a game.
or make you win a game.
But the point is that they're looking at if their head is down because of something like if a pick six occurs,
Okay.
and a pick six where somebody intercepts the ball, you know, and runs it back for a touchdown.
Absolutely.
Now you see a lot of times you see players on the sideline, their heads down, thinking that the game is over with. Look at the Lions in this last game that they played.
Right.
Here, the score was 26-20. Minnesota could have came back. They were marching down the field to try and go and could have went and got a tie score and possibly could have won the game.
Exactly.
We've seen those happen in the past.
But
where
see, you
people
got-
like who? Aaron Rodgers has beat us in the last few minutes of a game.
But you got players that say that's not going to happen under my watch.
Well,
And
that's a good
that
thing.
That's that accountability factor again. You want to make sure
But that's
that,
also
hey,
the
listen,
that's the discipline.
that's
too.
the discipline, but that's the accountability. Like, hey, we got to stop this. Okay, this is the last minute drive. They're going down the field. They're marching. We got to stop this.
So now
and
let's.
they took accountability and stopped it.
So then let's look at, now we know that the Lions are complete. We know that there shouldn't be.
I wouldn't say complete. I say they are.
But when I say complete,
moving
they're
toward completeness.
Well, I think that they're complete in the sense that they're putting a product on the field that doesn't embarrass the fans. They're putting a product on the field that can compete with, I think, any team out here. Because
Absolutely.
as people say, the San Francisco 49ers, as vaulted as they were, Baltimore found the weaknesses that they had.
Oh, that was just out the box at that point.
So now you look in terms of saying the teams that are really the ones to be reckoned with right now. Dallas, like you said earlier, Miami, San Francisco, the Philadelphia Eagles, and who else am I missing? And the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, but you got to also look at it this way. At the beginning of the season, most people were putting emphasis on the AFC.
Correct?
AFC has shown to have blemishes. The NFC has actually risen to be one of the stronger conferences, or the strongest conference.
Okay.
And I think we can bypass the AFC because the AFC we won't play until we get to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
All right.
So let me ask this.
Let's concentrate on the NFC, and Philadelphia is faltering. San Francisco faltered last night. Philadelphia barely got by. Dallas has so many flaws. It's incredible to know that they have such good offensive line, defensive line, skilled players at both offense and defense, special teams, whatever the case may be, and they still falter. And I believe truly that it's a mental thing as opposed to a physical thing because they have the physical talent.
Okay, so in the couple of minutes that we got left in the show, what are your predictions for the Super Bowl?
Oh, that's further down the road. But at the same time, let me say it this way. My hope is that the Lions become, if they don't become the first seed, and I say the first seed, if they don't become the first seed, they become the second seed. And I take, I put all my hopes in the fact that we will be playing a playoff game late into the playoffs at Ford Field. Like I said, on any given Sunday, you will see teams rise and fall. But the culture, like I stated, that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have assembled, they're going to be in the mix until the end.
Okay, we got a couple minutes left. So do you have any predictions in terms of say, well, let me ask this one last question.
Okay, go ahead.
Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? If it's not the Lions, who else?
Well, predictions and the odds state that Baltimore will face San Francisco again. But at the same time, if last night was any indication, I hope that San Francisco comes a little better prepared than they did last night with Purdy having 4 interceptions and his backup having another interception. I mean, let's have a nice competitive game where everybody's in the mix and giving it their all, and it will probably be one of the best Super Bowls that we've ever seen if those two are in line with what their potential states.
San Francisco, Baltimore.
Correct.
So those are the two teams. I'm really, and I know you'll smile when I say this, so no Kansas City?
Kansas City is ill prepared at this point. I don't know why they didn't enter the free agent, the free agency during the year, the course of the year. They needed a wide receiver. There were several that were available that they didn't pick up. There were several defensive players that they didn't pick up. So I don't know what the thinking is of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but at the same time, if there's a need there, fill that void.
Okay. The second to the last question.
All right, second to the last.
Let's go into, because we got 1 minute left.
All right.
What's your predictions in terms of, say, for the national championship when it comes down to college football?
Okay.
Just give me. We
and
only
I'm
got a minute
glad
left.
you mentioned that. U of M is better positioned than they've been over the last few years when they've lost in postseason play. I expect them to come with it this year and come strong. Alabama is a formidable team, and it's going to be a tight game between the two of them. As it relates to Texas and Wisconsin, I've seen Wisconsin obviously because the Big Ten is our area, but not Wisconsin. I'm sorry, Washington. Washington. I apologize because they're coming to the Big Ten.
1 minute left.
In Texas, I haven't seen a lot of.
So,
but my hope is that U of M faces Washington in the national
you're saying
final.
U of M and Washington in the national championship
Absolutely.
game, and then who's going to win? Just real quick, we got to
Washington.
wrap up.
I mean, I'm sorry, U of M. Definitely U of M.
U of M.
U of M.
All right, so U of M fans, I know you're probably thanking Ken for sitting up here saying that, hey, they're going to take it out.
Definitely U of M. That's my team. That always has been my team.
All right.
So I expect nothing less of them.
Okay. Well, you heard it from Ken, Scott. So everybody will look in terms of say that, hey, let's see what happens. But we're hoping that the Lions continue their winning ways, and we hope the U of M continues their winning ways.
Absolutely.
You've been watching Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun News. If you'd like to get in contact with Valerie Lockhart to advertise in the Detroit Native Sun newspaper, you can contact her at 313-457-5944. And we, again, hope and pray that everybody has a happy holiday, happy Kwanzaa, and enjoy and bring in a very, very safe new year. Peace.
2024.
Here at the Full and Fabulous Curvy Girl Project, we don't just focus on health, beauty, and self-esteem. We also offer an amazing summer program for young ladies ages 12 to 18. For more information, visit our website at fullandfabulous.org. See you soon.